In this video, I'm going to quickly go through some of the USB settings and installing the Mongoose drivers on a Oracle VirtualBox virtual machine. I've already got a Windows 11 installed, a Vida all installed already, and that's all ready to go. And I'm just going to pop into the settings, and we're going to go to USB. And as I've said, we must make sure that the USB controller mode is at least compatible with what's physically in your hardware. Basically, leaving it on USB 2 works for most everything. So we're going to say OK to that, and then we're going to fire up the virtual machine. Get rid of this notification panel. We don't need to see that. As I said in the blog, it's really important to install the guest editions that help the virtual machine communicate with the host computer for doing things like USB redirection and drag and drop and whatnot. So what we're going to do is going to go to Devices, hit Insert Guest Editions CD Image. So there we go. Knows it's installed. We're going to run the program. Next. If you don't get that automatic pop-up to come and tell you to run the CD, you can just go into My Computer and find it, and just run double-click Vbox Windows Editions, and it will start the installer. And after you've installed the editions, you need to reboot. So we're going to do that now and carry on. Now, on my host computer, I'm just going to show you the device manager from the host computer. So this is the actual computer that's running the virtual machine, and this here, this USB serial device COM9, is the Mongoose. My host computer doesn't know what it is because I haven't installed the drivers. There's no need to. It just sees it as a COM port and doesn't really know what else to do with it. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And then again, on my host computer, I've got the driver package, but we need to get it into the virtual machine. So what we're going to do is in Devices, we're going to go down to Drag and Drop and Enable Bidirectional Drag and Drop, and then get my window back up, and we can just drag the driver package over. Plonk. There we go. Now, I'm not going to install the drivers just yet, but what I am going to do is tell the virtual machine to redirect the COM port from the host machine to the virtual machine. So if you go to Devices over here, we go to USB, and because of the USB device descriptor, it already knows what it's actually called, but the drivers aren't installed. And we're going to click that, and we'll now see that in Device Manager on the host computer, that COM9 has now disappeared because it's no longer on this computer. It's on the host, on the virtual machine. And if we now bring up Device Manager on the virtual machine, we got a COM port. That's not what we want. We want a Mongoose. So now we're going to go ahead and run the driver installation package. Go next. This is one of those next sort of situations. And now the machine's detected it, sees it as a Mongoose Pro. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to shut down the Device Manager, and we can now go into Vida and do a read on the car. So that's because it's always important to make sure that the Vida monitor has a green play icon before you try and log in. How did I hit the search box? Find vehicle program. We can now see we've got the Mongoose there. We hit read vehicle. And away we go. Fill out the drop down boxes. Click OK. Hit diagnostics. And let it scan the car. There we go. We're going to go to fault trace. And I always recommend going straight to the delivery tab. The initial state and unselected CSC can be confusing. I have got articles on my blog which explain the differences between these three tabs, and they are significant and important, but it's generally pretty easy to say the delivery tab always shows current codes. That's really all you need to know about. And that's it. This concludes my TED talk on virtual machines, USB redirection, and installing drivers from Mongoose on a virtual machine.